Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to listen to a lassie that believes that telling jokes kills people. But first I just want to say that now that I've got a lot more free time in my hands, I can start working on longer videos again. Now you guys have sent me a fuck ton of things to look into, and it's going to take me some time to get through it all. I'm not saying that I'm going to make a video on everything, but I do look at everything that's sent to me and I'll be covering anything that interests me. I have a folder on this laptop full of the original ideas that I wanted to cover myself when I started out, and now I also have a folder full of what you guys have suggested. So I'll be posting videos from both. If you do send me a link or a story and I don't cover it in the weeks that follow, it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring it, it simply means that it's on my to-do list. So feel free to post links, articles, opinions in the comments. And also, because over 400 of you decided to join the party last week, I'm going to take longer to reply to comments, but I do look through everything. So if you want to have a discussion, post away or better yet, message me on my Facebook page, which I'll link below. Anyway, on to the video. Take it away, Delia Melody.
I've been thinking a lot lately, and I've realized you can learn an amazing amount about a society from its entertainment media. I say that, and I'm pretty sure everyone thinks, well, duh, of course you can. And I also think that everyone knows that our media has been reinforcing hatred and ignorance for a really long time now.
You can say that again. The ignorance we're seeing in the media is very concerning. Like the people who claim that we need to teach men not to rape, or the people who claim that you can't be racist if you're black, or the people who are trying to force freedom of speech to bend the knee to the easily offended. These things definitely need to be challenged, so I can completely understand where you're coming from.
But we're making progress, right? Well, maybe not. Imagine you're watching a TV show. A man needs a date, so his friend buys him an escort. The man's terrified, but his friend reassures him that he'd never, and I quote, stick him with some toothless tranny from Port Authority.
Oh fuck me, it's one of these ones. I'll never be able to understand the inability of some people to take a joke.
That word, tranny. People use it like it's just a synonym for transgender, but that word has a history of hatred and violence behind it. There's a word for words like that. They're called slurs. A slur is a slur, regardless of whether it's based on race or gender. But people call me tranny all the time, and they laugh about it. I don't take kindly to it. That's not their word to use, and even we don't use it.
What the fuck do you mean it's not their word to use? Words are amazing. They can bring comfort to the disheartened, they can inspire the downtrodden, they allow us to express ourselves in ways other animals can't, and they bring us closer together. Words tell stories, they fill the books that we learn from. Words give a voice to our imaginations, our hopes and our dreams, and they connect us all and help us to understand one another. I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by the language police who says certain words are only for certain people. And for your information, Delia, I use the word tranny, my friends use the word tranny, and you can't do a fucking thing about it.
And of course, they just tell me to chill, because no one likes an angry tranny. But hey, let's get back to our favorite TV show. It's a season later, and our main character is out on a date, and none of his friends like this girl. He wonders why. Maybe she murders puppies! Ah, but then he has a far worse thought. He sees their future wedding in his mind. He tells her how much he loves her, and then his future wife reveals that she used to be a guy. How horrifying! She's not a puppy killer, she's a tranny!
Even though it's clearly a joke, let's pretend for a minute that it's not. If this hypothetical scenario was to happen to me, I'd be pretty pissed off if my future wife didn't tell me she was a tranny until our fucking wedding day. That's a piece of information that should be shared before getting sexually involved with someone, because it's a sign of trust and respect. I mean, would you want to spend the rest of your life with someone who could keep that kind of secret from you?
And society laughs. It's like somehow finding out a woman is transgender is literally worse than finding out that she partakes in animal cruelty and slaughter for fun. And then society looks at me, and they think I'm a fraud and a liar who likes to get his jollies in the ladies' room or by tricking men into having sex with me.
Oh, trust me. The hostility and refusal to take transgender people seriously that we're seeing these days has nothing to do with jokes and everything to do with the fact that people like you tell other people that transgenders are a part of this group alongside non-binary and gender fluid folk, and that they now need to remember a variety of ridiculous new pronouns and regularly check their privilege because they're unequivocally bigoted and transphobic simply because they themselves are not transgender.
And they laugh at me. like they laughed at the TV. And then I go home and cry as another transgender child takes their own life and another black trans woman is murdered. Wow, that got serious quick, didn't it?
I think the word retarded is a lot more accurate. And if jokes are enough to make you cry, I would suggest growing some thicker skin. I'm honestly surprised that you, as a transgender woman, haven't already toughened up. We need to deal with a lot of shit sometimes, even more so now thanks to Tumblr's gender jugglers. You're not going to get far in life if you let jokes reduce you to tears.
There's a word for what we're talking about. It's called casual transphobia. So what is that exactly? We all know transphobia, right? Actually, wait, that's not even true. See, most people I meet who are not trans have never even heard that word before. They say homophobic. And that's a perfect example of casual transphobia.
I think you need to get out more, sweetheart, because I've never met anyone who didn't know what transphobia was, except maybe much older people. And transphobia is transphobia, whether it's casual or not, and telling jokes or not knowing the difference between transphobia and homophobia is not transphobic.
It's not a guy out in the street holding a sign that says God hates trannies, or a man smashing a glass into a trans woman's face at a bar because his girlfriend was frightened by her transness. It's drag queens throwing around the word tranny as though it were funny or even theirs to use. It's total strangers on the street thinking it's okay to ask us how we pee or have sex or what genitals we own.
Granted, it's inappropriate, but it's not transphobic. Human beings are very curious creatures. We like to ask questions, especially about things we don't understand. And if someone asks you a question you don't feel comfortable answering, simply decline to answer it. It's not difficult, and I think it's time people like you grow the fuck up and stop throwing about the word transphobic until it loses all of its meaning, because you're very close to that point.
It's someone I know telling me how interesting I am or introducing me as their trans friend. It's the people who don't judge or understand because they have a gay or trans cousin. It's seeing Caitlyn Jenner at Spirit as a Halloween costume.
Okay, no bullshit. I was actually going to buy the gender costume last Halloween just for the sheer irony of it. But anyway, people have been dressing up in offensive costumes for Halloween for decades. Personally, I find the classic sexy schoolgirl costume to be more concerning because, schoolgirls are, by definition, children and they should never be sexualized. But sure, bitch about the Jenner costume because that's what's doing the harm, right?
It's even some trans people who treat pronouns like titles that have to be earned by dressing and acting stereotypically enough, and who police non-binary individuals by telling them that their pronouns are real. It's the person who tells a trans woman she doesn't look trans, as though transness was an insult and cis-passing was a compliment, and then keeps it up by telling her that her jaw kind of gives it away.
I guess I'm transphobic for not believing the whole non-binary thing then, I mean, how the fuck can you stand there and say being told that you pass is transphobic? That's the whole point, you moron. Transgender people transition with the goal being to live and pass successfully as their preferred gender. But now complimenting them by saying they pass is transphobic? And aye, men tend to have bigger jaws than women, and this tends to be what gives many trans women away. That's why so many of them opt to have bone-shaving surgery. I mean, and it's a dick move to point this out to someone's face, but an observation isn't transphobic.
It's even the well-intended but still backhanded compliments from strangers who put the emphasis on how they think I'm really pretty. As though I wasn't already aware that my transness is a part of my beauty.
Holy shit, someone called you pretty? What an awful transphobic cunt.
It's every time a cisgender actor gets cast for the leading role playing a trans character in a film about trans lives, written by a cis person, directed by a cis person, and produced by a cis person for a cisgender audience.
While the exact percentage isn't known, the most often cited percentage is probably the 0.3% of the population in America being transgender. So it's common sense that the film industry isn't going to be booming with trannies now, is it? And even if it was, it's called acting. By your logic, we better break Charlie Manson out of prison the next time the role of a crazy psychopath is needed.
It's the people rolling their eyes right now at my abundant use of the word cisgender instead of normal who don't understand that the word cisgender is absolutely necessary because transgender people are normal.
Transgender people may be normal, but their condition certainly isn't. There's nothing normal about hating your own body so much that you want to hormonally and surgically alter it. Stop lying to yourself.
It's every microaggression and rude question. It's every harmful word, statement, and joke, and every laugh that follows. And the saddest part is that we have all done it, and we have all had the blood of transgender murder victims and suicides on our hands, because that is what gets us killed.
For fuck's sake, Delia. Accusing everyone of being transphobic wasn't enough for you, so now we're all heartless murderers as well? I wonder if you'll ever realise that, in your arrogant attempt to educate people on transphobia, you've probably turned more people transphobic because they listen to the crazy bullshit dribbling over your chin and think that that's what all trans people like.
Oh, what an inflammatory statement to make, right? A lot of people would be offended that I would insinuate their complicity because they'd never intentionally do anything to harm a trans person. But that's the thing about casual transphobia. It doesn't have to have hate behind it, it creates hate. And most of the time, it's not done intentionally. It's done out of ignorance. And most of the time, it's not even done by the people we would usually think of or who would think of themselves as transphobic.
So if we don't think they're transphobic, they don't think they're transphobic, and they would never harm a trans person, can we not just deduce from this information that they're probably not fucking transphobic then? What is wrong with you?
It's the rest of us who could change so much about the world if we just remembered that we need to challenge the status quo and accept that if a trans person says something is harmful to trans people, it is harmful to trans people.
Here's a crazy idea. How about you stop referring to trans people as if we're all the same? Because believe it or not, darling, trans people are people. We all come in different shapes and sizes, we all have different ideas and opinions and perspectives on life. Some are religious while others aren't, some are gay while others aren't, some are left-wing and some are right-wing. You're the one dehumanising trans people by referring to us as a collective that all mindlessly think the same.
And then the appropriate response to that is never to defend oneself, but always to acknowledge one's privilege, take ownership and responsibility for the mistake, and fight for change. While we think about that, let's return to our hypothetical TV show. It's several seasons later, and we've seen transphobia run rampant through our main character's mind as a main staple of the show's humor. And it's never used satirically to fight transphobia, but always used to perpetuate tired, harmful myths about trans people for a few cheap laughs. Certainly we'd never see such a show on television today. I wish that was true. But it's not hypothetical. It's How I Met Your Mother. And it won the GLAAD Award for fair, accurate, and inclusive representations of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender communities.
I don't watch How I Met Your Mother, but I'm sure if it's winning awards for inclusion, people with better heads on their shoulders than you can acknowledge that jokes are funny and not meant to be taken literally. I mean, people like you bitch and moan about how trans people aren't represented enough in the media, and then you call anyone that includes a trans character transphobic. Jesus, no wonder people feel the need to walk on eggshells around the topic. I don't consider myself a part of the transgender community. I have a very close group of personal friends, and they're what matter to me. I don't need to go out and meet other trans people to feel like I'm a part of a group, and I understand that others do, which is why I think it's a good idea that the transgender community exists for those who want it. But I'm not a part of this group just because I happen to be trans. You can fuck right off with that logic.
Casual transphobia is the root of all transphobia, and as long as it is allowed to continue, we will keep losing trans lives. And we've lost enough. The death toll in the United States for 2015 alone is already into the mid-20s. And those are just the ones we know about, and I can guarantee you that number will probably go up by the time a lot of people see this video.
Aye. This video is definitely making the trans person watching it want to kill themselves.
And what can we do about it? Simple. Erase casual transphobia from our vocabularies. Stop the slurs, stop the jokes, stop the assumptions, all of it. It's harmful. And learn, if you're not trans, you never get to decide what is and isn't offensive and harmful to transgender people.
Fucking hell. This lassie is literally advocating for censorship. This is the type of person who would sign a petition calling for the criminalisation of free speech. And what did I just say about grouping us all in together, you transphobic cunt?
Your job is to shut up and listen and learn to respect human beings for who they are. And as transgender people, our job is not to stand for it. I've learned a lot in my life that I end up losing friends and family and whatever sometimes for my transness.
Trust me, you're not losing anyone because of your transness. You're losing people because you're fucking nuts. You would literally be the kind of person Big Brother would hire for the thought police, and you're making people think the rest of us are just as delusional as you. Stop it.
That's not going to change regardless of whether or not I choose to correct them on this crap. And if someone is going to take more offense to me pointing out their casual transphobia than they are going to take to the fact that transphobia is responsible for violence against trans people, I really don't need that kind of person in my life. And neither do you.
Unlike you, I don't claim to speak for all trans people, but I will say this. Most of us are reasonable, compassionate people who just want to get on with their lives. And while every basket does have its bad eggs, people like this do not represent us. The only thing harming trans people is this ridiculous rhetoric and the people who support it. Enough is enough. In my previous videos, I was very pleasantly surprised by the amount of other trans folk that were coming forward and saying, "Thank you for saying this, I believe this as well." So I know that we're not all that fucking crazy. So to the trans people watching this video, do you believe with what I said to Miss Melody? Do you think there's some honesty in what she says? Just in general, everybody, I think we all accept that transphobia is a thing, but does anyone actually believe that casual transphobia is a thing and that telling jokes is killing people? I'm going to pay you the compliment that you don't. Thanks for watching.